putting up generic websites, ranking them, getting leads coming in, and then forwarding those on to actual business owners to then take and make money. Truck, got insurance, built a website out, got the Google business profile up, and went to town. And within the first year, we were up to like 30 to 50 pay per month doing dock removal and demolition.
All right, welcome to episode 3 of the Expanding Local podcast. Today, I'm here with Lewis Vandervalk. He is the former co-founder at Integrity Junk Removal and Demolition and is currently the owner and CEO at Blue Corcus Solutions. It's a pleasure having you on, Lewis. Lewis, are you 6'8"?
I am 6'8". Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Of course. I'm really happy that we're doing this virtually and sitting down so that our heights are not compared, because I would feel very emasculated.
It's all the same on camera, right?
Could you go into kind of your journey, just a brief introduction, how you got into marketing? I believe you ran a junk removal company. How'd you go from there to here? What's the journey been like?
For sure, yeah. So I can start back, grew up on a farm, did construction during the summers. And then when I graduated, I did construction for 4 years. So everything from concrete, massive barn pours, to drywall, to mudding, to painting, to house framing, roofing. I kind of did a bit of everything. And after 4 years, I was like, I think there's more that I can do and need to do if I want to have a family. Find a wife, have a family, support that family. Spoiler alert, we have 4 kids now, and they eat a lot, and it costs a lot. So I was looking at that, and my cousin had gone to university, college for Americans. I'm in Canada, and no one in my family had, but he was like, you like fixing stuff, you grew up on a farm, why don't you do mechanical engineering? I really liked science and math and stuff. And so I did. I applied, went to university, got a degree in mechanical engineering, graduated in 2019. And 3 months after I graduated in May. Our first son was born in June of 2019, and then in August I started the marketing agency. So it was a busy year, and then like a month later I got let go from my job at the time doing mechanical engineering design and whatnot. So it was a pretty crazy year, and then so I started doing that. I actually started doing rank and rent. That's how I got into SEO. So building websites that I own, for snow removal, XYZ snow removal or XYZ roofing or whatever, putting up generic websites, ranking them, getting leads coming in, and then forwarding those on to actual business owners to then take and make money. And then 2021 started the junk removal company. Someone had come to, at that time I was kind of transitioning into SEO services and not just building websites that I owned. Someone came to me locally looking for, help on their junk removal website. And so I looked at it, I quoted it. I think it was like $750 a month, and that I quoted him. And he was like, "That's crazy. Like, that's ridiculous. No way that'll, you're smoking your socks." And so I looked at Ryan at the time. He was a friend of mine from university. He had joined me in the marketing agency. And I said, I bet we could dominate the area. And so I think he came to me in January, and by May we had decided we were going to start a junk removal company. So we did that. We bought a trailer, bought a truck, got insurance, built a website out, got the Google business profile up, and went to town. And within I always get the numbers wrong, but within the first year, we were up to like 30 to 50 K per month doing junk removal and demolition.
Good for you guys.
And it was really fun. It was really fun. I had to step out of it after about a year and a half because of 4 kids now and an agency and, focus. If it's split too much, you don't get anything done. But I've really got a hankering to start another service business. It's so fun. Doing the marketing and the startup phase of it, and I learned a lot through that I can now teach my clients, but I love having my hands in that process.
Yeah, there's a lot of agency owners, especially ones in home service, who never really got their hands dirty and never actually did the work. I was an electrical apprentice. Unfortunately, I do wish I did start my own business and scaled it so that I could say
never too late.
What you're saying right now. Yeah, you're right, and I think I might do that in the future, just as a little passion project. But you're a shining example of someone who's done it and is now doing it for others. What do you think that gives you in terms of a competitive edge compared to other agencies who may or may not have, actually experienced getting their hands dirty and growing their own home service business?
So I think right from the start, it gave me an advantage. So my construction background, I started going into, renovation companies, asphalt paving. I hadn't done asphalt paving, but I could pick it up pretty quickly because it was similar to concrete. I worked with some concrete companies, some deck building companies, things like that. And I could speak the language. And so that endeared me to them. And they were like, it's not just some pencil pusher who is has no idea what these things are called and what it is that we actually want to do. And so that right from the start was something that was beneficial for my sales process. And then as we were going through and writing content and whatnot, it was something that I could be like, hey team, no, that just doesn't make sense for the industry. And so I could train my team to make sure that we were on the right track.
So, at your agency, what kind of services do you offer home service businesses?
Websites and SEO. That's our main focus. We have tried and dabbled in Google Ads, and it's never been amazing, to be quite frank. Some of them have been great, but we've got a few clients now that we're still running it for. But SEO is my first love, and it's something that I continue to hone that and continue to learn as you need to in SEO, and then websites supplement that very well. So we'll build a website for someone, and then they'll come back a year later and say, "Cool, we're ready to start SEO." Or in the process of onboarding them for SEO, it's like, "Hey, I think you really need to rebuild this site to, get it to look better or to be a better foundation for SEO or whatnot."
Perfect. Well, let's talk SEO then. So, for home service businesses in particular, like what do you think the biggest changes happening in 2025 onwards are right now? I know a bunch of people are freaking out about the different Google updates coming out, and they're like losing a bunch of website traffic. How do you think businesses should be adapting to the constant and rapid change that we're seeing right now?
That's such a great question. I think the number one thing I wanted to dive right into technical stuff, but I'm going to step back to like the mindset of a business owner. And I don't remember where I got this term, but there's like kind of two people in business, whether it's agencies or home service business or what have you. There's people that are just gatherers and order takers, and then there are people that are hunters. And the gatherers and order takers typically are the ones that are like, oh, an agency is who I need. And they go into a group and they say, who does Google Ads or who does SEO? And then they come on and they just sit back on their heels and they're like, 2 months into SEO, they're like, this is crap. Nothing's happening. Yeah. Or, 2 weeks into Google Ads, they're like, what's going on? I've spent X number of dollars and nothing's happening. Those are the order takers and the gatherers. And I think, I've seen it happen, and I don't want to, doom anybody, but I do want to give a wake-up call to someone who's listening at home that if that's you, stop. And turn around and look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I need to be an actual hunter. An agency is a supplemental thing to my income. A lead providing source, whether it be Angie's List or Hometown, whatever it is that you're buying leads from, which can be good for your business, actually. Everybody rags on Angie, but we can talk about that deeper if you want. Any of those things, they're supplemental to you. You have an X factor and you need to be out networking. You need to be out creating conversations and connections and real relationships with people in your area, whether it be people that can, actually buy from you or people who can refer you over business. That is so key. And that's something that helped us tremendously with Integrity Junk Removal when we started it. Was I went really hard on the networking and got to try some things in person and in actual in the actual community that supplemented our SEO and supplemented the website. But I think that if someone takes away nothing but that from this podcast, it's that you must be a hunter and you must look at an agency as a supplemental part to your income. We are not, we don't walk on water. We're not the Jesus of lead generation. And if someone claims to be, that's great. And we like to stand behind our work as well. But you can't just count on that, or you're going to sink your ship, and it's going to be a really fiery death for your business. So I think that would be the thing, that no matter what's happening, you actually control more than you think you control. Yes, things are going to change. It used to be people, relied on the yellow pages. Now it's moved to, some different avenues online, like websites and Google business profiles and stuff like that. Now Google's changing pretty dramatically, and there's the AI generative answers that come up. So yes, clicks are going down. But as you adapt and pivot, you can actually influence those AI generative answers. So if you optimize your website well, and there's some things you can do to influence the AI language models as well, But if you optimize your website with good schema and good content and answer the questions, then your website can be the source that the AI pulls from and quotes you. So even though everybody's freaking out about it in local, I don't think it's going to affect it as much anyway, because you're still going to need to call it actual business. If it's like an informational websites are taking a big hit. Blogs and stuff like that are definitely taking a hit because you can get the answer right there. Someone might click in to get a little bit more answer, in full. But I do see for local, we're still going to need to have that, a number to call or a place to click to get in touch with the business. You can't get it all through Google.
Can you explain schema like the listener is 5?
Yeah, so schema is in the back end of your website is built with code ultimately. Google sees code. Google does not see the pretty pictures and the pretty aesthetics that you see when you log onto someone's website or your own website. Google sees code, and schema is a layer of code that you can add onto the code that builds the structure and the content of your website that says, there's local business schema, there's review schema, there's product schema, and it's a way to really nicely and concisely organize information about that page or that website or that business. If you're doing nothing, you should at least be doing local business schema for your website. But it just gives Google some more information that matches your name, address, phone number on your Google business profile, your Facebook page, your website, etc. That gives it more confidence that it's got the right business, it's got the right answers that it's looking for from that business. I think that's the easiest way I could say it.
What do you think the biggest mistakes, or most common mistakes, home service businesses make when it comes to their website schema?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably just not having it. Yeah, I think just not having it. If they're going to have it, either they're going to, because there's testers out there. You can get ChatGPT to write you schema now, and then you can test it in I forget the exact URL right now, but just look up schema validator, and Google has a testing tool. I think it's Google Dev Tools or something, but just Google that and you can test your schema, make sure that it works and compiles properly. But not having it is the biggest issue I see.
I love that. I feel like you just said where to go, and so many agency owners are like, "Oh, it's complicated. Like you have to do all this stuff, and you have to pay me to to figure out all this stuff." What other tools? Sorry.
Nothing we do is rocket science. It can be tedious and take a lot of doing the same stuff and optimizing a page and stuff like that, but it's not rocket science, and anybody can learn this stuff. If I can learn it, you can learn it too. And I'd love it if you learned it, because that means you're more powerful. And then when you get big enough, then you can come over to Will or myself when you're ready to outsource that and not have to do all that work yourself.
Yeah, I feel like demystifying and just making things easy, because what we do is really easy at the end of the day. And a lot of agencies, they try to make everything sound complicated, use sophisticated language, but literally to index page, you go to Google Search Console. You want to look at your analytics, you go to Google Analytics. There's sources for all this information. You don't have to look at the agency report that they're sending you. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. What are some tools you think home service businesses should rely on when it comes to their marketing if they want to be more informed on the data they're seeing about their business?
I love that you mentioned Google Search Console. I personally am in Search Console a lot, even for just doing the SEO on our sites and looking at strategy, looking at what it's starting to get hits for, and what it's where it's going. Right? Google Search Console is really valuable. Learn how to use it. Ask your agency to show you how to use it. Go on YouTube and figure out how to use it. It's really quite simple. You just need to make sure that your site's on there and verified. Then you can make sure that your pages are indexed. You can make sure you can see what searches it's getting impressions for, and then you can start optimizing your site for that, building out some service pages for stuff that it doesn't have pages for, but it's starting to get hits for. Pages that it's starting to get clicks for, go through and optimize them, add some more content, add a video review, stuff like that. Google Search Console is the no-brainer. Analytics is quite a bit more complicated, I find. For a business owner to go through. Search Console is pretty straightforward. Analytics, you can go down this maze and get lost pretty quick. But that would be it, is Search Console. A software like SEMrush or Ahrefs are pretty expensive if you're just a single business.
Yeah. What are some of the common mistakes you see home service business owners making on their website?
Not realizing that Google doesn't rank websites, it ranks pages. they think, oh, I'm going to go buy a website, and I'm just going to have, or I'm going to build it and I'm just going to have a homepage and list out some services and be done. And then they're like, hey, website, we even have this, we try and be better in our sales process now, but we've had some people come in and buy a one-page website. Awesome. Great starter thing. You can attach it to your Google business profile, but it's not going to be the be-all end-all lead generation source for you. You have to put some work into that. You have to add out pages. With integrity junk removal, within the first 3 months, we had 50 pages up. So like every single service that we offered had a page. And ultimately, as a business owner, you need to be thinking about how can I write those pages myself, have someone else write them, and get every single service. Like junk removal, for example, everybody thinks, oh, I just do junk removal. It's like, no, yes, but you do furniture removal and you do, playset removal and workout equipment removal and so on. And for roofing, there's, asphalt shingles and metal roofing and, roof repair and all these things that you can build out a specific page for, so that that page is really focused on a keyword and a location.
Perfect. And I feel like a lot of companies, like they'll have their, they have a main city that they're serving, and they don't really give any attention or love to the like copious amounts of other cities that are in their service area. What do you think is a must-have for like location service pages? Like you mentioned that there's the service page and then service page in that city, but you can also go deeper than that and have like individualized services in that city and then just do that, and like you can have thousands of pages for that. Is there a point where that goes too far? Can you have too many location service pages? What's like the bare minimum that home service businesses should be doing?
So the point at which you go too far, I think, is when the pages become too similar and you're not taking the effort to make them at least somewhat unique. Even if you're using AI to spin them, so maybe you write out a master one, like, hey, here is Kansas City roofing. Then you take in each suburb in Kansas, you take some AI and spin it and then human edit it afterwards. You can get a fairly unique page out of that. You need to make each page on your website unique, and you need to make sure that they're being indexed. Eventually, if you see that these pages just aren't being indexed, then they're not unique enough, or there's other stuff that you need to do to make Google say, hey, this is a page that's worth taking our resources to come and find. But I mean, at least it's different for everybody. Some people, I mean, the ideal is when it's just like one location. Their website's just like hoping to dominate that suburb. But that's very unusual for someone. And so let's take roofing, for example. What niches do you serve mainly? What?
Like pest control, plumbing, electrical, like any like home service work with your hands.
Killer. So
Um,
let's take plumbing, for example, right? You've got water heaters, install, tankless water heaters, regular water heaters, sump pumps, all of that, right? So you could build that out for your site. You've got your homepage and your service pages in your general area. And then every suburb can have, exactly like Will just said, a page for that suburb. We built everything out for A suburb there, and then B suburb can have all of those location optimized service pages for that other suburb. So yes, you can build out a ton of pages. You just need to look at, hey, are they getting indexed? Is there any traffic coming from it? And then, focus more on those.
how important are backlinks for those pages to rank organically?
So I think I actually am pretty bullish on backlinks. I've been investing quite a bit into how we can scale the unscalable stuff about backlinks. You can go on Fiverr and you can buy 1,000 backlinks right now for $10. It's not going to do a whole lot. I have found that local backlinks and high authority, relevant websites linking back do much more than tons and tons of websites that are just like directory listings and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that what we do is we do a lot to work on the main domain, and then that trickles down to the service pages. In some areas, we will directly link to the service pages if that makes sense, but we spend less time on directly linking to them and more time on building the authority, linking from the Chamber of Commerce, linking from, charities in the area, linking from parallel industries. So reaching out and saying, hey, can I write a guest blog on this on your website? So if it's a tree service company, maybe there's a landscaper that he can write a guest blog on around, hey, if you're getting ready for landscaping and you've got this massive tree in your yard, here's what you can do. You can cut it down yourself, you can get us to do it, or you can call XYZ tree service company to do that. So I think backlinks are very, very important still.
I agree with that. And I'm also like, this is a kind of a question for both my own agency and then also home service businesses. I feel like you have a lot more experience with this. Reaching out to like charities and events and like sponsorships, like what does that process look like? How do you message it properly so that it's not like, hey, like I want a backlink, I'll give you money for it, or maybe that is the message. How do you go about that?
So a lot of the local ones don't involve money. If you're trying to get onto like a big publication, typically there's going to be some money involved. Some of the, I mean, if you want to get on Forbes, it's all pay to play. Like you see people saying, "Hey, I got featured in Forbes." It's like, cool, that probably cost you $6,000, you know. But local, I don't know if you've read the book "The Go Giver" by Bob Berg. If you
I will
haven't,
though.
highly recommend it for anybody who's listening at home as well. It changed my life actually. It changed the whole trajectory of my agency. So if we reel back to 2020. COVID had just started. I was getting pretty desperate, and that was my commission breath was showing on calls, right? And so I read the book and it just flipped my world around. And it's called The Go Giver. And the whole concept is it follows this guy. It's kind of like a little parable, but it follows this guy who's freaking out. He's about to lose his job. And then he flips his whole mindset. And the concept is how much can you give without expecting anything in return? And so we can take that same concept going back to backlinks to anything in networking, really, because getting links from someone local is basically meshing real life networking and digital. So it's very unscalable, as I mentioned before. So like with Integrity Junk Removal, we reached out to a local community kitchen. I did have an in through my wife. She kind of knew the director. And so I reached out and said, "Hey, Cassandra, don't know if you remember me or remember Alyssa, but just started this business, and I'd really like to see how we can support you guys. And as you know, not only that, but I'd love to write a blog for your website. It's going to help your website rank better, and we can write that blog around donation pickups. So they do food drives. They have people wanting to give food that's left over and that's still in good condition. And so I said, we can even help you do that. And so that's what we did. She said yes. We went and helped on a few pickups, got some nice pictures from it, and then wrote a blog article for them on, hey, if you've got donations, this is what you can do. And you can also call Integrity Junk Removal, and they'll come, with their trailer and truck, pick it up, and deliver it to us. And so we got a really nice local backlink. And charities, schools, government websites are really powerful. Google sees that, a step above someone who just started a website randomly.
Perfect. And do you think that's possible without the initial relationship? I know you mentioned your wife kind of had an in with these people. Can you email them and just say hey, the same thing you kind of just said, or text them?
You can, absolutely. What I'm doing now with clients is getting them to sit down and give me 30 to 50 businesses that they know, have used, refer people to. And then I'll go through and look at their website and say, hey, here's some things. And then I'll meet with the client and say, hey, this is what I think we can do. Does that make sense with your relationship? All right, cool. So whether it's an equipment supplier that they use, that they can do a quick video testimonial for, and then reach out and say, hey, I did this video testimonial. I'd love to get it edited and feature it on your website. And then if you could just link back to, Will at XYZ Tree Service. That's a way to give value in advance. And then go from there. Guest blogs are great for, let's say it's a demolition company who's looking to work with realtors or property managers or whatnot. They can write an applicable blog, help that company with, something that's SEO friendly for them, and then get a small paragraph in there that says, you can also call this demolition company. So it's very, you have to customize it. You can't just, at least the way that we're doing it, you can't just blast out a bunch of emails.
I feel like that is how kind of everything works nowadays, especially with AI. It really just you can pump out content, you can pump out outreach, you can really be a nuisance.
Yeah, and I believe in that stuff too, but there's so few opportunities for good backlinks locally. Let's actually not waste them.
Yeah, 100%. So let's say you get a few backlinks. You built out your location service pages. What's next to optimize your home service business's website?
I'm a big fan of video. Again, that's something that everybody has an X factor. So video is something that is hard to replicate. I know AI is getting better at this, but you're still going to have to tell it what to do and train it on you, even if you're going to get it to do videos that look like you. You can do a video. Well, I'll back up again. I really love Marcus Sheridan's book, They Ask You Answer. I don't know if that's coming through forward or backwards.
Oh, it's forwards for me.
Okay, perfect. So it's called They Ask You Answer, and the book follows his journey from basically going bankrupt in 2008. He had a pool company in Vermont, I believe it was, and they were just about going bankrupt with the real estate market. And so he basically was like, all bets are off, and he started writing blogs on their website every night, answering the questions that he was getting on every single sales call. So he would answer those questions. What's the price of a fiberglass pool? Who are the best pool companies in the area? He would do a blog on these. These are the best companies, and he would include them in there as well. But he would answer those questions, and he started getting a ton of traffic. He, at one point, was the most trafficked pool company website in the world.
Wow.
After following this process, he was getting people from Australia wanting him to come install pools for him. But bringing it back to a local home service business, you can do the same thing in blog, or you can do it in a video. So every service page that you have, you could have a video like, hey, what's it like? What happens when you reach out to us for a new roof or a new water heater? These are the things you need to keep in mind. This is how we can help you. This is, how you can go and do it yourself. You can get as complicated or not as you want with that. You can then put that video on YouTube, embed it on that page, and now you've provided way more value to them. You're speaking to them 24/7, 365, and you've got that connection with Google on your website because Google owns YouTube, and you keep people longer on your page. So it's like this beautiful marriage of everything that happens, and I think that's the next step because a lot of business owners are really uncomfortable to get on video.
Can I add to that? And this might be
Please,
what
yeah.
you're saying is what we do is, people also ask.
Yes.
So we look up a bunch of questions related to their business and then just generate a bunch of people also ask questions, click on them, expand them, get the ones that are relevant, and then sit them down on a interview like this on Riverside, interview them, get the transcript from that, turn that into a short little 3 to 5 minute YouTube video, and then embed that on the blog post, and then use the transcript with ChatGPT. So it's not ChatGPT garbage, it's human influence content that's related to that video. And it cooks.
Amazing. That's I just kind of came to that conclusion that that's what we need to be doing because I've been trying to get people to do it, and it's hard. I know how it is as a business owner. You've got so many things, and that's kind of the last thing on your list. But if I can corral them for an hour, go through 50 questions, we've now got content. So I love that you're doing it. I'd like to chat more about that with you.
I think you'd be good at it too because you seem very easy to talk to. I feel like it's easier for them to not sit in front of a camera and answer questions. It's you're talking to, they feel like they're talking to you, and it's more conversational, and I don't know, I think it appears more natural for them too.
Well, they answer these questions every day, all day when they're in front of customers anyway. So it's just it's just capturing that for posterity, right? Love that. I love that you popped that in. I'll have to chat with you off air after.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you. And I looked at your reviews, so I know you're legit, 77 5 stars.
Working to keep that going.
Yeah, good agencies are rare, so it's nice being another owner.
They are. It's interesting. I was saying to someone, I was chatting with them a couple of weeks ago, and it's so I've been doing this 5+ years now. It was 5 years in August of last year, and I started with a ton of people because I jumped into a training, and it was 5,000 people in that training that training group when I jumped in, and I saw so many people start and then just fizzle out, and it's everybody thinks you make a ton of money as a digital marketing agency. You can, if you do it right, but you can also lose a lot of money, and there's a lot of stress to it too, because you're actually holding someone's livelihood in your hands.
Yeah.
And people can burn out really quick through it.
Yeah. Speaking of holding livelihoods in hands, Google, they have too much power over businesses. Their support whenever things go bad is terrible to deal with. What's your advice for companies to, I don't want to say de-Google themselves because you're going to have to be using Google's platform, but become more independent from the search engines like Google or the Google business profile, all the Google products? How do you become more independent and kind of own your own audience?
I will say, we play with whatever sandbox we're given. Google is an interesting one. Everybody rails on Google, but it's Well, you could go on the corner and spin your sign. Like Google right now is a way better option than that. I get where you're coming from though. So Bing is actually an up and coming one. So if you don't have your website on Bing Search Console, so we talked about Google Search Console before, but Bing has, it's called Bing Webmaster Tools, but it's the same thing basically. You can make sure that your website is indexed on Bing. You can also see what's getting some traffic. We use What Converts to track calls and form fills. And we can see that Bing and DuckDuckGo actually have like a surprising amount of leads come from those. So you can use those. You can also use social media networking, going back to what I was saying about hunter versus gatherer. I know I had a guy that I was chatting with recently, and he like pretty much has doubled the leads he's getting from social media and community interaction that he was getting from Google before. So he's still getting those from Google, but he's getting like tons of interactions. He's doing giveaways. He's doing like business takeovers. He's just giving away a car, like jointly with like 4 or 5 other businesses locally. He's a junk removal company.
That's smart.
Every Tuesday he gets his, he's got a friend that has a pizzeria, and every Tuesday he gets his community and following to nominate a business that they want to be pizza bombed, basically. And then he takes the pizza out and gives it to them and gets pictures. And now he's got a ton of content that he can use. He does giveaways through like local concerts and stuff. He's just like everywhere networking on social media. Yeah, and so he owns his community for that business, and that's something that anybody can do.
I love that. Wow. Yeah. I feel like there's such a stark difference between a business owner like that and ones that's just kind of like, I'm going to pay this agency and they're going to run my business for me. Like, how do you, first things first, do you work with home service businesses who might expect a little too much? And then have you seen them transform, or like, are they just not a good fit? How has that played out from your...
I haven't often seen, I don't think I've ever seen a case where a business owner came to us with that mindset and then like turned it around. I'm trying to think. Well, there was one fellow, he came to us and was a little bit more of like a gatherer. And then he actually like looked at his books and he was like, wow, this is awful profit. He was in junk removal. Shout out Eddie if you're listening. And he was like, I need to like stop Google ads, stop SEO. He was doing ads himself or with another agency. He was doing Yelp ads. He was doing Nextdoor. He was running SEO with us. And he was like, he just stopped everything. And he's like, I'm taking everything back in my control, getting some better profit, and then I'll go from there. And he read The Go-Giver, and he's like crushing. He's doing like, he bought a Tesla, and he's like doing Tesla meetup networking. He's doing like realtor stuff. And he is definitely someone that went from like a little bit more laid back and just kind of hoping that things came in to like aggressively going out and interacting with his community and networking.
So I've seen all of my clients, I recommend they get, especially the first review, like send them to your Google business profile, get it there. Have you seen any other platforms work? I know a lot of people like Yelp, like they've been having some struggles with because they're kind of more catered towards the reviewer and not necessarily the business. Yeah. Like what are some other platforms you think people should be collecting reviews on or focusing on?
I love video review because you own that. So have a software for that, or just do a quick video with your client before you leave. Yeah, there's so much power in that. You can also incentivize them to post. You can take a picture with them. I got this from Brad Akers. He's in the roofing space. You get the client to take a picture with you. You send them that picture, and then you offer them an incentive to basically post that picture in local Facebook groups and say, hey, I just had Brad's roofing company out. They're amazing. You should give them a call. And then he gives them $100 if they do that. Wow. And so it's a way to really get, like, people go on Facebook, people go on Google, but like if you see people recommended in Facebook that way, like that is so powerful and so impactful. I think Facebook reviews are actually beneficial too, because Google looks at that pretty aggressively. Google, Facebook, and Yelp are the 3 that I typically recommend people go after. LinkedIn recommendations are good too. But.
Do you recommend running ads on any of those other platforms? Like I know Yelp has an advertising part of it. Angie's has an advertising thing. Like, do you use that? Do you recommend it? Or what's your thoughts there?
I haven't played in Angie's space for a long time. I used Angie as a very strong, like, anti-message for when I was doing rank and rent. It's like, hey, Angie gives it to 5 people or 5 or 8 people. I'm going to give it just to you. So I haven't really played in that area for a while. Um, if you're doing ads anywhere, you have to track them. You must track them, or you could just be spitting money down the drain. Um, Hometown, so in the junk removal and demo space, like Hometown Demolition is a good provider, and I actually recommend people get on their platinum version because you're going to get some really solid leads through there. I know there's providers like that in every industry, and you just have to track what your ROI is and what you're getting back, and you need to know those numbers. And I can't tell you what those numbers are going to be in your market until you try.
Let's go in the tracking because I feel like that is something that home service businesses are like, I want nothing to do with this. You know, the Google tag and Metapixel, like you want this stuff on your website, obviously, but what are some tools that people may like not be utilizing properly, and what should be being tracked on like the customer experience, if that makes any sense?
Customer experience is something we can. I think that's a separate thing than where my mind went when you first said that. But like, if, you've got to be tracking where every call comes from. We'll get to customer experience here in a second. Call rail is an option. Call tracking metrics. We use what converts for a lot of our clients. Go high level is another option that you can use. You can either do it under an agency like Will or myself, or you can just get your own account. And you can buy tracking numbers through there and have them all forward to your cell or to your business phone. You can set up missed call text back. So like if someone calls you and you're with another client, you can text them back immediately and say, hey, book a call here, or just wait 2 seconds and I'll be off the phone. But if you don't know where every call comes from, and the reason I mentioned all those softwares is you can get multiple tracking numbers, one for a number that goes on your truck, one that goes on your website, one that goes on your business profile, your Yelp profile, your Facebook page. You could have different numbers everywhere. And then you'll know exactly which numbers are bringing in the leads. And then you can double down on where, the best leads are coming from.
Perfect. And I think you wanted to touch on the customer experience side of things, so I'll let you riff there.
Yeah, so customer experience, I mean, we talked about reviews earlier. And reviews come down to the way you set up the customer experience. So like right from the get-go, even as you're quoting Susan for her roof, you can say, hey, Susan, if we get this job, my number one goal is that you come away with a 5-star experience. And so you're planting that seed there. Then when the guys show up, you're planting that seed again. And you're giving them an actual 5-star experience, right? I think communication is probably the hardest thing for home service business owners. And if you can get it right and communicate and be upfront, like, hey, we're running late today, or it's going to be longer than we thought. Like, proactively communicate, you're going to like absolutely dominate in your market. And so then it leads to the job being finished, and then you asking for the review, and then you getting the video testimonial and stuff like that. But communication is just massively important.
Yeah, I feel like going off of that, like we have some clients who are they get a phone call, maybe they miss the call, they're still foaming at the mouth. They're like calling them, they're calling their aunt, their uncle, like we got to get in touch with this person and see if they're a lead. And then other clients are a little more like, yeah, we missed this call. Like we don't have any sort of like follow-up process. And it's like, that hurts, especially if it's like a paid lead and not organic. Either way, it hurts. Most of the clients we work with, you and I both know, are like super high ticket. Like one call could be worth like $20,000 depending on the industry. What would you recommend for home service business owners who maybe don't understand the importance of answering the phone? And like, how have you kind of helped your clients with that process, if that makes any sense?
So the stats are, if I remember correctly, if you don't, like in most home service industries, if you don't get back to them in 5 minutes, your odds of closing that lead go down by 80%. And then the other stat that's crazy is that a lot of sales are made after the 12th touch, which is like, if you're not getting back to them immediately, you're missing out. And then if you're not following up with them, whether it's to make an appointment to go out and quote it or after you quoted it, then you're missing out on a ton of sales too. So like, those are pretty scary stats if you look at like what you're actually making now, and if you were doing, tweaking those dials a little bit to follow up more and follow up faster, that's some pretty insane revenue drivers right there.
I think I could be wrong here, but I watch a lot of Tommy Mello stuff, and I think he mentioned that like if you don't answer the phone in the first second that it rings, or within the first ring, like I don't know the percentage, but the chance of you converting that person drops substantially, which like is insane because it's gotten so competitive. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of hard if you don't have a dedicated CSR and like the training and all that stuff. Maybe you're like a one-man shop just running with your van. Um, I don't even know what kind of question I'm trying to lead this into. Let's go back to let's go back to websites.
Tommy's, for those that haven't checked him out, Tommy is someone I watched and listened to a lot when I was first getting going. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I saw him on your podcast. I'm very jealous. I reached out to him on Facebook.
I'm going to see if I can get him on again. I don't know. That was like 2 years ago, and now he's a lot busier and a lot more famous. So I don't know. Fingers crossed that we both get him on the podcast.
I reached out to him on Facebook, and he was like, "Yeah, reach out to send me an email to this email." And so I reached out to him. Haven't heard back yet, but I'm just gonna keep
He did that to me too, like 2 years ago. So it worked out. And then follow up maybe when you got like 20 or 30 episodes down, and then your odds go up too, I think.
Yeah, I think that's also a driving force. Like I want to get more episodes out. It's a good reason too.
Yeah, I know some people that don't come on until you've got like 100 episodes. They're like, I won't go on any podcast under 100 because it shows that you're serious and have an audience and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't blame them either, honestly. I mean,
that's not me. I'm here. I'm excited to be here. But eventually we'll both get to that point, hopefully.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen your stuff. You have like what 130 something now, or
yeah, I think it's like 150. I've pivoted a bit. So I use the podcast. This is a tool actually that home service businesses can use, and I use for integrity. So in my agency, after reading The Go-Giver in 2020, I started thinking, okay, how can I give people a platform? How do I not have to cold call and cold reach out? And so I started the podcast for that reason. I was actually going to do it in person here locally. Can you still hear me okay?
Are you still there?
I noticed you looking around. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out.
Okay, where did I cut out? I'll go back.
You were talking about how all I heard was you read the Go-Giver and then you cut out.
Yeah, so in 2020 when I read The Go-Giver, I kind of pivoted how I was reaching out to people. And what I was going to do is start a lunch with Lewis here locally. And I was going to take local business owners out to lunch every week and network that way. COVID happened and actually was really beneficial to pushing me online. So I started the podcast because of that. And then I got to reach a way wider number of people that I would have just locally. But the podcast concept is something that any business owner can use. So I used it for networking. I would go into a group of asphalt paving contractors or junk removal and say, hey, who wants to be on the podcast? And about every sixth person that came on would become a client.
Wow.
Because they've talked to me, they're now comfortable, they've shared their story, they've been vulnerable, and there's some laws of reciprocity in there that happen, but the familiarity just builds that comfort with them. So I actually did that with integrity. I made it much shorter form. I did a 10-minute podcast. I would send them the questions before, and we would jump on, riff for 10 minutes. What do you do? What's your name? What do you love about working in the Fredericton area? Who's a business owner that you would love to have on, that should be on the podcast as well? And what was your first sales experience? Those were the questions.
Nice.
And then I would riff with them for about 5 minutes after. Hey, what do you do? How can I support you? And they would invariably ask, what do you do? And like, what's going on? And so we got jobs for the junk removal company just off of that. So it was like 15 minutes with each person. I could get into business owners and decision makers more easily because I was giving them a platform. And so it was that like kind of stroking their ego a bit. And it gives you a chance to associate with people that you wouldn't have been able to before, because you can share those out to Facebook, to the community groups, to YouTube and stuff. And it makes you look like someone that's like really well known and popular in the community really fast.
Perfect.
So I don't remember how we got down that, but I wanted to list out that concept for people because it's something that you can really, really snag.
Well, I feel like and I was listening to a few episodes. I forget who you're talking with. Just how like home service, like I feel like there's such an opportunity for just a lot of growth on behalf of the business owners. Like they don't understand how important video content is. They don't understand how important building their own personal brand on top of their own company brand is. I feel like tradespeople are just kind of like, screw it. Like, I'll pay someone to do this and they're going to, fix my website, get my SEO and, good to go. But like, they're not like understanding the power of the personal brand. And to be completely honest with you, I'm like very introverted. I like living a private life. I don't want like to be, online, But at the same time, I've realized that over the last few years, I've learned a lot that can help home service businesses. So I feel like I'll be doing a disservice not creating content that is able to distribute the messages that I want to be able to distribute and like teach people at a more mass scale than like one-on-one conversations. And I feel like home service in particular, nobody understands it, and the ones that do are winning, and the ones that don't, like, they could still be, doing well, but I feel like they're missing out. What's your piece of advice on just like building video content, building your own personal brand, and kind of taking that stuff seriously?
Well, shout out to Adam McChesney. That's how we connected, actually, was through this group, Builders of Authority.
Yeah, by the way, let me just add, I met Lewis yesterday in Adam's group, and now we're on a podcast together. So,
yeah. So I went in, and I'm working to build my personal brand. And I went in, I asked Adam if I could post in the group, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking to get on 25 podcasts this year." And Will reached out, and here we are, right? So that was Saturday, and today is Sunday. So that is an example of me working to build my personal brand. Will doing that as well, but shout out to Adam McChesney because his group is around building authority. It's called Builders of Authority for anybody who wants to jump in. It's free. And Adam's done this really well. I've known him since 2019 when I jumped in. He was actually in the first group that I jumped into. And he started in 2018, I believe, in his agency journey. But his personal brand is on point. He's gone through, I think he started and partnered in like 2 or 3 other agencies. He's started multiple businesses. And he's the reason Will and I are here today. And so personal brand can go wherever you go and will go wherever you go. And it's either going to be I don't know who Will is or who Lewis is, or, I know that Lewis is 6'8" and he does websites. Or I know that Will does this, websites and SEO and ads and all of this stuff. Or I know that Joe, the plumber, does plumbing because he chatted about it at BNI or something. And if you're not being a human online, some days I wish I could log off Facebook and not log back in, because I have used it. It's been the number one way that I've built my business.
Same
but
here.
some days, I just don't feel like it. And so you have to just do the thing that you need to do. But your personal brand it doesn't have to be all just pictures of your cats and dogs and your family. It can be, hey, here's something that you might not know about water heaters. And I'm going to tell you why. And you shoot a quick video with your face in it and you explain it to them like they're actual people. And now they're going to remember Joe the plumber as someone who added value to their life. I am working with a plumber now, and I met him through like a mastermind group online. And then I distinctly remember when I put him on my list of people I wanted to work with. He made a post. He's in Kansas City, and he made a post on 10 things to think about as you're nearing winter. And one of them was to keep the garage door closed during the day, because it can actually freeze your pipes in the, pass around the garage. And it whacked me upside the head, because we leave our garage door open all the time and we're in Canada. And I was like, crap, we could be losing pipes. And so I remembered that, and I know that other people did, because I saw it being shared in Texas. I saw that post being shared in Florida. And Mitch had done a great job at providing value for people with something that wasn't just, hey, I'm over here and I do plumbing and please, purchase my services. But that's a way that you can build your brand. Sure, you can do an anecdotes. You can do dad jokes like I do to sometimes switch it up. You can talk about your kids or your family or the vacations you're going on or your dogs. But be a person, provide value, and people will remember that, because you have an X factor that no one else has. Will has an X factor. I have an X factor, because we're ourselves and we're people, and there's no two people that are exactly alike.
100%. I kind of want to go into the relationship between websites and Google business profiles. And I think a lot of home service businesses don't understand that they are very interconnected, and Google, takes that connection seriously, and it's a major factor in your ranking. What is the relationship between your website and your Google business profile? And then how can you optimize that relationship to make Google happy?
Yeah, 2 separate entities, but definitely connected. Here's one that doesn't relate entirely to SEO. So we've had 3 clients that have been in this same scenario. They've built up a great brand in their community. They've built up a great Google business profile with lots of reviews and everything. And then they had this really crappy GoDaddy or Wix site that was attached to their Google business profile. So we brought them on, we redid their site, and all 3 of those guys within 2 days had paid for their website. because our conversions just went way up. Because now people were visiting their business profile because they would, they were ranking fairly well on their business profile. They would visit the business profile, and almost everybody clicks into the website from there. They might call directly, but they're like, hey, I want to see what this business is about. And they went to the website, and now it looked really amazing. It showed their ethos. It showed the digital side of their actual real life networking and good human, personality. And so their conversions just shot through the roof, and it was amazing, and like made me really happy because it turned into some great case studies that I wasn't expecting. But like that is how they interact just from a practical standpoint. From an SEO standpoint, your website and your business profile, the info on there has got to be all the same. The hours that you list on your business profile should be in the footer of your website listed as well. The address, even if you don't have the full address on your website, like you might have your business out of your home, Google still sees that full address. So let's say it's 123 Will Troup Road, Kansas City, Missouri.
I like this example.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not great at coming up with like off the cuff things. And so maybe you don't want to show your road, your 123 Will Road. You can still say Will Road, Kansas City, Missouri. You don't have to put your exact house number, but matching it up as closely as you can, having that address in the footer, etc. If you're putting a tracking number on your website, you're probably going to want to a different tracking number on your Google Business profile as the primary number, but your secondary number can be the main business number. So Google still sees that continuity between your name, address, and phone number everywhere. And then the services that you list on your website, matching the services and products on your Google Business profile are big. So like if you're trying to rank your Google Business profile for, underwater basket weaving, but you don't mention that at all on your website, then it's unlikely that you'll rank for that if it's a competitive area. But if you do mention it on service area pages, location pages and service pages, then Google's much more likely to be like, okay, they're not being crazy here. They actually do this service, and we've seen it in 2 places.
So one of the things that a Google Business Profile has is that products feature. And a lot of home service business they're like, well, I'm a service business. I don't really have to use this. I'm curious as to know your thoughts on linking services to the products page on a Google Business Profile, and then also linking that product to a landing page on the website or the location service page.
So we do it. We fill out the products, the services as products, and then we write out the 1,000 characters that you can in that little blurb, and then we link back to that service page on the website. So like the Learn More button at the bottom links directly to the underwater basket weaving page on the website, or whatever it is. That's not original. I got that from somewhere.
How important are updates, and how important is the frequency, the content of those updates? How are you using those to succeed?
Ideally, you'd be updating every page on your website every 6 months. It could be as simple as just taking that people also ask thing that you mentioned before and just adding some more FAQs on each service page. But if you can be doing that Google does see that as a sign that you're in there, you're optimizing it, you're adding content. It's a living, breathing thing.
Perfect. So I meant the updates on the Google Business Profile. My bad. I should have said that.
We'll take that nugget for your website. But updates are important. And then even on top of that, what we've been having clients do is post a picture. So not necessarily post an update, but post a picture from every job that you do. And even if let's say you're a roofing company, you're not doing as many jobs as, say, a junk removal company or a plumbing company. But if you can take some pictures every day and put them up there on your profile, 1 or 2 of them, and do an update at least, at a minimum once a week, but 2 or 3 times a week, that's making a big difference. But the pictures themselves is where we're seeing like some really cool stuff happen.
One of the things that we talked a little bit about earlier, but I'm curious your thoughts. Like blog posts, obviously SEO is changing right now. There's no doubt about that. Right now, what do you think is the frequency home service businesses should be posting blog posts? And have you been able to see any substantial results from, traffic from a blog post that later converts into a customer?
I think it depends on your blog post. What blog posts? I have a love-hate relationship with blog posts. I think if you're starting out, you've got to hit your service pages and your location pages first, and then use blogs to either give interesting info about the company and not expect it necessarily to get a ton of traffic, but it's there if someone's looking and it's linked from other content. So like team member highlights or best roofing companies in XYZ location. From an SEO perspective, though, you can build out blogs to build up the topical relevance of your domain for a specific thing, like asphalt roofing or asphalt roof repair or commercial roof repair. You can go down and build out blogs on questions that people have about those or info about that does support the topical relevance of your domain.
How important are like categories and tags when you're posting a blog post?
I don't have a great answer for that. Yeah,
Me
I don't.
neither.
It's not something that I've really tested a ton, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. There's so much changing right now. Like before, it was you had to, have the keyword in the title, keyword in the first sentence, and then like, you know, keyword in the first sentence of the excerpt. But like, I don't know. I feel like Google is like getting smarter and like they know people are trying to game these systems.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like no
SEO is
one.
very math driven. I mean, Google looks at it very black and white. I'm kind of in the middle of like, hey, let's look at the tools and look at the math of like there's some really cool stuff you can look at from like how many times is a keyword mentioned in your page versus the competitors. Like using a tool like Quora, if you haven't looked at it, we don't use it regularly, but I have played with it before. It like gets down like super technical into the math of the SEO and looking at your competitors and stuff. But then there's also like from a user perspective, is this useful? Or are we just doing it for SEO purposes? And trying to blend the two of those, I think, is where the magic happens for me.
What was that tool called?
It's called Quora, so Cora. It's like
Oh, okay.
the pro version is like 400, 500 a month, but it's a really, really powerful, super technical tool that like will spit out this massive spreadsheet. You'll put in your site and competitors, and then it goes through like all this stuff around. It looks at the code, it looks at the number of times that you mention your keywords, etc. It's pretty crazy.
And like, would you recommend that? I've never heard of it, but I love tools like that.
Um, it's very useful for someone who's super technical. I would play around with. There's like a $200 a month one. I would look at it and see what you think of it. Search Atlas is another tool that's excellent if you haven't played around with that.
Is that a paid tool? I have heard of that many times. And
Search Atlas is a paid tool, and they're rolling out some AI stuff as well with it. That's really cool. So they've got Content Writer in there. We use it for reporting. They've got keyword research and keyword tracking and stuff in there too.
perfect. All right, so we're talking about tools, and I love this. I use Ahrefs, GMB everywhere, and like obviously the Google tag checker, so you can see if someone's website's tagged, Metapixel checker, and a few other ones that I probably can't think of right now. What other like tools are you using on a daily basis to kind of like audit home service businesses?
Ahrefs is probably the one I go to still. It's my default. If I'm doing like an audit video for someone, I will run it through Search Atlas because it does like a report that you can share with them, like laying out issues and whatnot. ChatGPT I use daily. I use it less for content writing because I'm not in that department, but I use it a lot for data analyzation.
Yeah,
So you can take and you can download and export from Google Search Console, and then you can manipulate all that data in Search Console. You can upload the Excel file and then get it to spit out information for you. It can write formulas. It can like code up little calculators for your clients' websites. I mean, it can do anything really. But
yeah,
I use that a lot. Local Brand Manager is one that we use for Google Business Profiles. It's got a really neat interface. It's got cool reporting. And then we're working on setting up a widget through them where our clients can actually have an app and upload pictures to the business profile, which then get reflected on the website. So it's like it populates a map with pins of like all the jobs that they've done.
Oh, I like that. That's
Super cool.
awesome.
Yeah, pretty
Oh,
inexpensive too per profile. Another one for backlinking is I'm going to forget it now. LinkRocket. LinkRocket is a software that basically is pulling in. It's like building a community of people with websites who are willing to link out and want links back from other relevant websites. So they're pretty strict about the process. You have to verify it through a tag that you actually own the website. Then they'll go in and manually look at the website to make sure that it's not a spammy website or niche. and then you get a request, and if you accept it and build the backlink and approve it, and show that you did, you get some credits that you can then use to go request other people's websites. Really
Oh, that's
interesting
cool.
tool. Another one is featured.com. It basically is like, I don't know if you've heard of Haro, like help a
Yeah,
reporter
yeah,
out.
and that got removed, right?
Yeah, so
Or,
I've switched to Featured. So Featured.com, you can go in, and any of your clients can do it. You can actually do it agency too. I haven't done this, but you can build it out as an agency too and have like sub accounts under it. But it basically just asks random questions and you provide a quote. And then if you get picked up, you get included in that article with a quote and a link back to your website.
that's awesome. Perfect. What other? I feel like I keep going back to websites, but like, I feel like it's interesting. And a lot of home service businesses like have no clue. We covered blogs. We covered kind of like location service pages. How important is having like an about us team or about us page, an our team page, and like all the other kind of personalized stuff on a website?
I think incredibly important going into 2025. They were important in 23 and 24. But there's a concept called EEAT. So it's like experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And if you don't build that, like Google is trying to get its algorithm to really pay attention to that stuff. The About page is an amazing place to talk about your team. And then I recommend doing a page for the business owner as well. Link to their LinkedIn page, like talk about any awards they've gotten, talk about any associations they're included in, and link out to those, link to their LinkedIn page, all of that. And then link to their business owner page from every blog. So like where you have the blog and the author, it links back to that page. So Google really likes that stuff. Really important.
Perfect. And like, for the our team page, how in depth should you go on like individual employees and people that work there?
I mean, I think that does come down to preference a bit. We've had clients that really like have fun with it, and every team member is there. There's one client here. Let me just pull it up because I forget right off the top of my head. But they have a meet the crew page, and they have the job title, the work anniversary, the favorite memory, favorite machine to operate, favorite core value, favorite season, and then their hype song. And so it's like really relatable. And some
Yeah.
of them are hilarious. They even have their dog. And the dog is, what's the dog's? So Finn is here. His job title is security, protecting my humans. Years worked, my whole life. It's exhausting. Favorite memory, barking at intruders, naps under my desk, hiding my ball under desks so they have to get it for me. His hype song is "Who Let the Dogs Out."
I like that a lot, actually. That's
Yeah, so they had a lot of fun with that one. They have really solid branded pictures for all of them, even like some videos where they follow them around. It's a seal coating, line striping company out of Charlotte. So they've done a really cool thing there with that one. But at least have, you and maybe your salesperson and a couple people. Our Blue Crocus team page, actually, we're in process of building it out because it was me for a while only. And so business owners, you have to do what you're comfortable with. But the more you can build trust with a potential client, the more you're also building trust with Google.
yeah, 100%. Do you run any like local services ads or Google ads for your clients?
So we do add Google ads a bit. Local service ads we haven't done a lot of. We're not doing any currently. I'll show them how to set it up and then let them run it typically. Yeah, so Google ads we're not taking anybody on at this point, but we do have a few clients right now that we are doing it for.
Yeah, I feel like you chose the hard one. Like Google ads, like it's
Yeah,
10 times more sophisticated than LSA.
yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like you don't really like LSA. It's just you set up the account, they mark
There's not a whole
leads.
lot to do.
Yeah,
I know agencies charging like $700 a month to manage LSA, and I'm like, man,
yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, we just include it in our fee. Like,
yeah,
literally, you don't have to do anything as an agency for LSA. It's all in the company.
yeah.
And like, there's companies that like mark leads for their clients, but I feel like that's not like can't really have a
You got to train your clients to do that.
yeah. Like you can't ever know what actually happened to the job.
Yeah.
You don't have that experience with the client. So other than Google Business Profile, like SEO stuff, what else do you guys offer? I saw on your website you do logo design. Is that something you're like focused on right now, or?
So we'll do it typically not as a standalone service. We have done a few, a number of them over time. But typically we're doing like someone's coming in, they're getting a rebrand for their website or whatever. So we will provide that service for them, and it's a extra cost to them because it takes time. Um, those are the big ones: SEO and websites and Google business profiles and branding.
I feel like Tommy Mello, like Dan Antonelli, with Kick Charge, like they're kind of um, shifting a lot of business owners' mindsets, like of how important like a clean looking truck wrap is, making sure like your brand consistency is the same across the board. What goes into creating a like solid logo that really stands out? Because I don't have any experience with that. Like I made my own company's logo. I have like a little bit of experience in Photoshop, but I don't know how to like do the stuff that these other people are doing, and I'm sure that your agency is doing as well. Can you explain the process there?
Man, we are not Kick Charge. I'm actually having Dan on my podcast here soon. We are not Kick Charge by any means, and I will never claim to be. We can help someone make a logo that certainly looks better than AI or some Fiverr designer. Um, for me, it comes down to is it clear, is it straightforward, is it not too cluttered, is it easy to read? Those are the main things that we look at. But again, I'm certainly no Kick Charge, and neither do I charge the prices that he does.
So outsourcing. What should be outsourced and is like can be responsibly outsourced, and what should be done by a business owner, and what should be done by a marketing agency for a home service business?
I mean, every agency is different, every business is different. I think the best businesses are going to build their own stuff internally, and that's crazy to say as an agency.
We share the
Um,
same point of view there.
yeah, we can never do it as well as you can on the ground. No one could have marketed for integrity the same way I marketed for integrity junk removal when I was doing it, because I just knew it. I knew my community. I knew the nuances. Can you hire someone in to help you and be awesome? Yes, but you are giving up an element of that personalization and that really customization, unless they're actually coming out and visiting your location or are local. I do think there's an element, at least certainly the way we operate right now, that there is an element of that is lost.
Yeah, and going back to what you said, the clients that we work with the best are ones that understand the most about digital marketing. So like they trust us, and they also know how to. They know that we're supplemental towards their like overall business goals, and they can kind of like not necessarily oversee it, because as an agency you shouldn't have to be like held accountable. Like you should do the stuff without. You should be very proactive instead of reactive. But I feel like the people, the home service business owners who know more about marketing get better results because they're helping us with what we're doing, and they understand what we're doing and can kind of like work with us to get there, if that makes any sense. I feel like it did a pretty bad job of explaining that, but
No, I think you nailed it. And I think that I mean, the onus is on us at some point to educate our clients too. But the people that really grab onto it, like we've got a few clients that are just rock stars. Every week they're dropping new photos in their files. Every week they're doing videos. Every week they're like, hey, what else can I do? Can I be helping you build local backlinks, stuff like that? And we've educated them on that. And some people, they just don't reach out for the info, or, essentially you can't lead a horse to water.
perfect.
Or you
What
can lead it, but you can't force it to drink.
what haven't we talked about that you want to cover?
I think the other thing I talk about a lot with a local service business is using Facebook and Facebook groups. So when I started Integrity Junk Removal, every day, or yeah, I think it was almost every day, I would go into at least one or two of the groups. We had about like 20 really active community groups: buy and sell, buy, sell, trade, yard sale groups, garage sale groups. And inevitably in the discussion section, there's someone looking for the service that we offer. Even if I would go through and I would search every day. So for junk removal, it's like estate sales, stuff like that. And I would comment and reach out to the people with the estate sales. I'd be like, hey, we'd love to help you at Integrity Junk Removal. And what that does is it pops it back up to the top of the discussion, because typically the groups are sorted by most recently interacted with posts, go to the top. So even if it was a post from 2 years ago, I would comment and say, hey, we'd love to help you here. And then boom, pops back to the top and people see the comment. And then I would also reach out to people who were having an estate sale like in the moment and say, hey, if you need help cleaning up after, we'd love to help you. But those comments and interactions, driving it back to the top, were really big. The other thing I did was gift card giveaways. So I actually did a cold email campaign. I went on D7 Lead Finder. I scraped all the restaurants locally. And then I used Woodpecker at the time, and I think you can still use Woodpecker as an email software. Threw all those into the email software and then had like a 4 email sequence. And I was like, hey, restaurant owner, we are a business that's, starting up here locally. We love the community. We love what you're doing. And we'd love you to be a part of our giveaway series. I hadn't done any yet, but I sent it out, and then there would be some follow-ups. And basically I was asking them to give me a $50 or $100 gift card free, and no expense to me. And I got people reaching out, replying, saying, yeah, come in and pick it up. Hotel restaurants, stuff like that. And then what I would do is I would do a giveaway every 2 weeks saying, hey, we've partnered with, Joe's Cupcakery, and we're giving away a $50 gift card to them this week. The giveaway closes here. Comment below if you want it, tag your friends, etc. And every comment or interaction gets a thing. And then I would do a live video running through all the names and picking a random winner. And I do that every couple weeks. I would put some money behind that. I would actually boost that post locally, and I would post in all the buy and sell community groups. So we got tons of interaction and growth on our Facebook page that way. And again, you're like giving people stuff that they then want to reciprocate, and then you become kind of a fixture in the local market doing that. And it was really fun, and everybody loves food, right? So it was I found it a good thing for people.
So when you're doing cold outreach, how do you make sure you're not ending up in the spam inbox? That's kind of what scares me.
I'm certainly no expert at that, and it's tougher now than it was, in 2021 when I was doing it. We're starting up some cold email stuff for the agency now, and I've got a guy doing that. But what you can do is so I scraped them from D7 Lead Finder, then I ran them through Neverbounce, which is a software that like checks your list to see if they're decent emails. And that usually took like 25% of the emails off the list. And then I would put them in and do a follow-up sequence. So I don't know what my percent spam versus inbox was, but I got enough replies to be happy with the result.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's like, first of all, like I want to start doing, email outreach. I don't know if I want to do cold or like generate my own list. But also like I don't want to get a client's like email in the spam folder. Like that would be a nightmare. Like, yeah. So I'm curious.
Well, I can tell you what I've learned now. I actually did it from our Lewis at Integrity Junk email. I wouldn't do that now. I would use something like Instantly, that you can get multiple domains, connect them all inside the Instantly hub, set up the emails, and then warm them up using Instantly. And then they're different domains than your actual business domain, so you're not like ruining your actual business domain reputation. So even if those ones get in the spam, you can just buy another one, warm it up, and go with that.
Perfect. And do you know if like, so let's say I sent emails from will@localsync.com and they had like a really high open rate, but then I sent new ones from like support@localsync.com or no reply, whatever. Does the like trust and like the spamminess like ratings, does that go across the domain, or is it just that? Like,
I don't know. I actually had that question yesterday. When I was planning out our cold email, and I was going to reach out to my buddy Matt at Coldlytics. Do you know Coldlytics?
No, but
you should check them out. So he's actually local to us, but he's like crushing it with agencies, and they do scraping, and then they human verify all the leads. So he's really good at cold email, and he's really good at like data acquisition for agencies, and a lot of agencies have really, really loved his service. So I was going to reach out to him and ask, but I'll report back when I know the answer.
Awesome. Yeah, because I feel like this is like the one thing where I'm like, I have no clue how this works, and I don't want to mess it up. It's scary.
I do know you should use different domains. So like we have, I'm actually looking at doing some cold outreach for clients as their agency, reaching out to local businesses for backlinks. And so I started one up. Instead of Lewis at Blue Crocus, I did blue-crocus.ca, and I bought a few variations of that to warm up for the cold email, so I don't like ruin my actual domain email.
Perfect. Yeah, I feel like me and you are kind of in a similar spot with backlinks. Like I just today before this call, like I'm trying to find ways to I don't know, communicate the message that it's a win-win for everybody, and like
Yeah.
you don't have to pay. And it's literally you're increasing your organic ranking, and there's no cost associated with it. Like
Yeah.
it also as an agency owner, then if they're cool with it, send a backlink back to my site. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like I don't know, I feel like once you can like find a way to scale that and crack that code, that would be pretty valuable.
So we've done something interesting too. We're very careful about interlinking all of our clients. We don't do that. We'll pick and choose some random ones, but I've also been reaching out to agency owners who have, like yourself, who have a list of clients, and then we'll strategically not directly link back and forth to each other, but like you'll link to one of my sites, and then another one of my sites will link to your client sites. We'll get client permission to do that, but that's a way to get like relevant niche home service backlinks from websites which should be raising in domain authority because we're all working on them.
Yeah. And can you go into that too? Like the exchanging, you don't want to go like directly back and forth, especially like in a very short time frame. Like you almost want to middleman it. How do you like manage that when it comes to swapping backlinks?
So I'm very careful with our client sites, especially if we're linking to like other agency clients, or I don't want to make a web of our client sites because that basically looks like a private blog network to Google. I am of the opinion that it doesn't matter as much for local backlinks. So like one of the strategies we'll do for our clients is we'll build out a page on their site that has like businesses we love or trust or whatever, however they want to put it. And then they basically do a mini directory on their site. That's another way to, give a bit before asking for a backlink. And so if they're linking out to, Joe's Tree Service, and they're also asking Joe's Tree Service to link back to them, I don't think, like if you're doing it and you're not doing like 100 of those a day, you're building up those over time. I don't think that that's what is as spammy to Google. I haven't seen it affect it a whole lot, and in fact the results are quite the opposite, like really, really positive. But if you're going out and like going on Fiverr and getting, 100 links that you link to them and they link back, like that just doesn't look super relevant. But if they're all local, like Google knows that people have local connections and want to be referring each other and stuff like that.
What links do you think are more important? Links from people in your GeoGrid that are in like non-competing categories, or people in your same category that are not competing in your GeoGrid?
I don't have an answer. I think both are really important. The niche relevant and geographical relevance is really, really powerful stuff. Another way to get some of those local links is to do something noteworthy and then just reach out to news stations and say, hey, I've got a story. We did that. We spun it that two graduates of the local university were starting a junk removal company. That's how we spun the story for us. And then we had like 4 or 5 news stations call us, do phone interviews, and write stories. And they were really powerful news backlinks.
Can you go through the process of reaching out to news agencies for like a story? Like who do you contact? How do you contact them?
So a lot of them, if you know your local news stations, like I reached out directly to like one was called Huddle. It was like an entrepreneur magazine here in the province. I reached out to like some pretty specific ones. Well, actually, I made a list and then I got someone on my team to just message from her email and say, hey, this is something that's really cool that's happening. And I think you'd like to cover the story. But oftentimes you can go on and there's either a contact form or some way that you can find an email for submissions. Like here's the editor email or whatever. You can go into ChatGPT too and even ask them. And sometimes it will be able to scrape the website and find it.
Perfect. All right, what else should I ask you? I feel like I'm running.
This has been fun, man. This has been a fun conversation. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I'm glad we met because I definitely am going to like stay in touch with you. And I think there's like just outside of the podcast realm, I'd like to get to know you more. And I think there's a lot of synergy. I like
do for sure.
Yeah, I like talking with like good agency owners because it's very rare to find them. So
I appreciate it. Yeah, likewise. This has been fun.
Awesome. So we're about an hour, 20 minutes in. Where can people find more about you? Where do you want to direct people to? The stage is yours, my friend.
Yeah, search my name. It's a very SEO friendly name. There's no other Lewis Vandervalk out there. So whatever pops up is me. Bluecrocus.ca or bluecrocus.com. I've got both. They all go to the same place. But search my name and you'll see the agency website. You'll see my personal website, which links over to the agency. Reach out if you've got questions. always happy to help. And if I can't help, I'll refer you to Will.
Awesome. You heard it here. Lewis, if you're a home service business listening to this, you need help with marketing. I mean, I've seen Lewis's agency's reviews. He's got literally 5 stars across the board. So, he's good. Yeah, reach out to him. And thank you so much for being on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. This was fun.
Awesome.